This conference will now be recorded.
In the previous session, we started developing a visual force space. It's a simple form. Now we want to open that visual force space. How to open that visual force space? In the previous session, we created one visual force space. Now we want to open that visual force space. How to open that visual force space? Go to the develop. Okay, go to the develop, and here we have visual force pages are there. See here, visual force pages. Click on this one. So, and see, this is my visual force page. It will show all the visual force pages. How many visual force pages are there in our instance? It will show all the visual force page. Click on this one. And here we have preview is one button is there. Click on this particular preview. Okay, and it will open like this. Click on this particular preview, it will open like this. Suppose we want to open the same visual force page from the developer console. Go to the developer console. Okay, go to the developer console and go to file. Okay, go to file. Still it is loading. Go to file and open is there. Okay, open. Click on this open. Whenever you will click on the open, in the left hand side here you have to observe classes are there, triggers are there, pages are there. Which one ours is a pages, right? Click on that particular pages. Now go to filter. You have to enter this one. You have to enter your visual force page name. Select your visual force page. Here and click on this open. And here we are trying to open it. Okay, and one more is go to here. Go to open resource. Previously open. Click on open, in the sense means pages. Okay, classes, triggers, pages, objects also we will open here. Means object means how many fields are there, it will show. Okay, and now coming into here, go to your file. Open resource is there, right? Click on this open resource and you have to type your visual force page here. See here, you have to type your visual force page. Select this one. Okay, suppose we want to open an existing visual force space as our comfort, whether we will go with the developer console or directly in the instance, as our comfort. Okay, as our comfort. So this is our visual force space, right? In the previous session we developed. Now coming into the instance, go to my visual force space. Go to here again. I'm just making this one as a columns 2 and scroll down here. Let's see, try to save this one. Previous session we made the columns as a one and it is coming in a single column. Okay, single column. So the next one is we have to add buttons, right? This is my page. Okay, this is my page. Now we want to add buttons in the visual force page. We want to add buttons. So go to developer guide. Okay, otherwise go to developer guide or component reference, as our wish component reference, or go to developer guide. Go to Google and you have to search. Okay, visual force page developer guide. Okay, and developer guide. We have to add buttons here. So first we will verify any tags are there for the buttons. Scroll down here. Command button is there. Click on this command button. How exactly we know there is a command button tag is there to develop a button? Means by practice only. By practice, almost we will discuss all the tags which we are using regularly. Here our requirement is we have to add two buttons. One button is command save button and another one is cancel button. That is, technically we will call it as a command buttons. So here we are going to use one tag. Go to here. I'm just opening my execute anonymous window. Suppose we want to develop buttons. Okay, then which tag we are going to use is nothing but apex colon command button. This is a opening tag, right? For every opening tag there should be closing tag. We will close from here. Here also we will close it. or here also we have to close it. Okay, below also, whenever we are writing code in between, suppose we want to write a code, then we will do like this. Okay, so I will not write any code inside this tag, then we will close in the single line, then we will close in the single line. I am closing in the single line here. Command button. So suppose we want to develop one button. Okay, suppose we want to develop one button. Okay, that is nothing but we will just go and use command button tag. We will just go and use command button tag. Then every tag has a attributes, right? Every tag has a attribute. Here, what is your button name? What is your button name? So my button name is nothing but save button. See here, my button name is nothing but save button. Apex colon command button. What is your button name is nothing but save button. So I will just go on to develop one more button. So how to develop one more button? Apex command button. These are technically we will call it as a command buttons. Value is equals to cancel. Okay, value is equals to cancel. In between I am not writing any code, so I am closing this tag here only. We are closing this tag here only. Just copy this code, go to our visual force space. Okay, go to our visual force space. Okay, where is our visual force space? Go to our visual force space here. Go to our visual force space. Now go to this space block, where I mean inside this space block or outside this space block, you will just go and add it. Let's see first you can add where we have to add, then we'll discuss. Okay, finally try to save this one. First we will see the output. So we created two command buttons here, two command buttons, save and cancels here, save and cancel. But where it came, it came, so in the left hand, in the bottom, in the left hand side it came, right? In the corner it came, right? But my requirement is go to account page. Go to account page. Okay, go to here you have to observe, take any one existing record or any one record. See, in the header it came, in the top it came, and here in the bottom also it came. Exact positions, right? Exact position, here you have to observe exact position, top and bottom, exact position it came, right? Exact position. We also want like that. We also want like that. So we are trying to developing two buttons. This is technically we will call it as a button. Technically we will call it as a button. How to develop a button is nothing but apex colon command button. And what is your button name is nothing but value, a value attribute here we are going to use. And here we are using value attribute. My button name is nothing but save button, and here my button name is nothing but cancel button. We are taking this code and we are going into our visual force page and we are adding here. Where we are adding means go to here, you can add anywhere, wherever you want. You will just go and add it and try to save this one. Try to save this one and see the output. See the output. So here we are adding. So here in the below, here it is coming, but my target is in the middle. It should come in the middle. In the middle it should come. So then what we have to do is, so Salesforce is saying that suppose you want to get in the middle, then you have to use like this: page block buttons. See, open. In between I have to write some code. In between we have to write some code. See here, apex, here I am trying to closing apex page block buttons, page block buttons. So here why we are using page block button stack? Why we are using page block button stack? My requirement is we want to add these two command buttons in the middle. We want to add these two command buttons in the middle. Then how? So we are going to use page block buttons, page block buttons. So this top of the tag should be here. For example, I will copy this code. I will copy this code. Go to here. We will go to here. We will copy this code. See, I am trying to copy. Wherever we want, you will just go and copy here. Wherever you want. Try to save this one. See what it is showing. Apex page block buttons tag must be under apex page block only, under apex page block only. So go and add this tag anywhere. Wherever you want, you will just go and add it. Wherever you want, you will just go and add it. But what system it is saying, you are trying to adding one page block button tag. Under this page block button we have two command button, but I will not provide you a facility wherever you want. I will not accept. Then where I will accept? wherever apex space block is there, right? Wherever apex space block, under this one only you have to add it. Under this one only you have to add it wherever you want, but under page block only you have to add it. That is system it is saying. That is the system it is saying. Here we are trying to developing two command buttons. Two command buttons. How the command buttons are? This is nothing but command button. We will call it as a save is one command button, cancel is one command button. So how we are trying to developing is nothing but we have command button tag is there, and what is your button name is nothing but save. Here I am trying to providing value is one attribute. Every tag as a attribute. Every tag as a attribute. Value is equals to cancel. Now what is my next target? My target is we want to add these two buttons in the middle. So how means we have one more tag is there, that is nothing but page block buttons tag. Page block buttons, in between we are adding these two tags, right? That's why here we are closing at the here. So here you have to observe I am closing in the single line. I am closing in the single line. Every opening tag there should be a closing tag. Where we will close, it's a depend. So I don't want to write any code in between. Yes, you will just go and close it in the same line. Suppose we are writing the code in between, yes, then you will just go and close it here. So now we try to develop one page block buttons here. One page block button we developed. Now we are trying to adding the system. It is showing an error message. What is the error message is nothing but what is the error message is nothing but you have to add this page block buttons. You have to add this page block buttons tag under page block only, under page block. So again I'm copying this code. I'm copying this code. Go to my visual foot space. Go to my visual foot space. Here you have to observe page block is there, right? Page block, this is a page block, right? Page block, okay, this is completely page block. Page block, see I am trying to adding here. I am trying to adding here. The immediate parent is nothing but page block only. The immediate parent is nothing but page block only. We are trying to adding here. Finally try to save this one. See now coming into here. See exactly here it is coming, right? Here you have to observe. Here you have to observe. One second. Here you have to observe save cancel exactly it came, right? How we are achieving this one? By using page block buttons. By using page block buttons. Under page block buttons we are adding these two tags. Page block buttons tag, it should be under page block only. Under page block only. Now my requirement is these two command buttons we have to get in the bottom only. I don't want in the top. I don't want in the top. We want to bottom only. We want to bottom only. So we have one attribute. Go to page block buttons. Go to page block buttons. Go to here in the in developer guide. Go to here. Page block buttons are there. Right? Click on the page block buttons. Click on the page block buttons. See here you have to observe these two are the page block buttons. Where what is the immediate parent? Immediate parent is nothing but page block. Immediate parent is nothing but page block. That's what it is saying. You are writing one command button. That command button name is nothing but save. We want to add this command button in the middle, then we are taking page block button tag. Okay, this page block button tag immediate parent is nothing but page block only. Now the next point is, so we want to add these buttons in the below only. See here we have location is one attribute is there. Location is one attribute. Location is one attribute. Okay, by using this location attribute we will just go and change it. Go to here. Go to here. Go to my visual foot space. One second. Go to my visual foot space. Location attribute we are trying to using. Location is equals to bottom. Location is equals to bottom. Finally try to save this one. See here it is coming as a bottom, right? Suppose we want only top. We want only top. Now go to here. Location is equals to top. Suppose we will not specify anything, then it will add in the both bottom and top. Both bottom and top. Both bottom and tab. How we know there is a location tag attribute is there? How we know in the sense means we will get the requirement like that. We want to add the buttons command button in the below only. I don't want in the top. That time we have to search. That time we have to search any how to add buttons in the below only. Okay, then we will get this attribute. Okay, location. location attribute we will get. What I am trying to say is, so how we will find there is a location attribute whenever we are writing a page block buttons, how we will find there is a location attribute. So whenever we will develop our page like this and we will share to the client, then client what he will ask was, yes, everything is fine, but I don't want these buttons on the top, I want the buttons only in the bottom. Then we have to go and search in the Google how to add command buttons in the bottom only in the visual force space. Then we will get it. So there is some location attribute is there. Okay, there is some location attribute is there. So go to here. Finally, location is equals to top, bottom. Suppose we will not specify, then it will take both. So this is page block buttons. This is page block buttons tag. This is command button tag. We are adding under page block only, and here value attribute is there. This is location attribute is there. Any questions on this one? Any questions? Okay. Okay. Now coming into here. So you are one user. You are one user. You will come to here and you will enter the details like this. Okay. You will enter like this. Akira. Okay. And then Akira. Akira. So you will enter like this. Street. Like this. You will just enter like this. All the details you will just go and enter and click on the save button. Click on the save button. So user he will come to here and he will enter all these details and click on the save button. And what is my target? My target is whatever the details user he will enter, whatever the details user he will enter, we will take that details and we have to insert one record. We have to insert one record. That is my target. My requirement is we have to collect the data, student information you have to collect. Based on that, we have to insert one student record. We have to insert one student record. That is our target. That is our target. My target is, this is my page, this is my page, this is my UI. We developed this user interface by using visual force page. Okay, in classic version. Yes, user he will enter data like student first name, last name, mother name, father name, some other details he will enter, and he will click on the save button. He will click on the save button. Then my target is whatever user entered the details, right? Based on that details, we have one student object is there. We have one student object is there. This is my student object. This is my student object. In this student object, name is there, first name is there, last name is there. These are custom fields. First name, last name, mother name, father name, some other fields are there. In this student object, whatever user he will enter the details, right? Whenever user click on the save button, my target is whatever the user enter the details, based on these details we have to create one student record in the student object table. In the student object, that is my requirement. That is my requirement. So how to insert the data? How to insert the data into the object? So we have to write some logic, right? Where we will write that logic? We write that logic in the visual force space, or where we will write? First of all, my requirement is collect the data from the user. Once you collected the data from the user, then what you will do with that data? My requirement is take that data and I have one student object. In that student object, go and insert. That is my requirement here. That is my requirement here. Then how to insert? Where we will write? First of all, where we will write that insert logic? Shall we write that insert logic inside visual force space? No. Visual force space is only for taking the data and for displaying the data. Once we will take the data, suppose we want to perform the operation, suppose we want to perform some logic on that data, then we have to write Apex class. So finally we will write our business logic inside Apex class. Why we are using visual force space? Why we are using visual force space? To take the data from the user and to display the data to the user. Once we collected the data from the user, we want to perform some logic on that data. That logic, where we have to write? We have to write inside Apex class. We have to write inside Apex class. So now we are going to write one Apex class. How to create an Apex class? How to create an Apex class? Okay, how to create an Apex class is nothing but Okay, lot of ways are there. Directly go to setup. See here, go to setup, go to setup and go to develop. Apex classes are there, right? Apex classes, click on the Apex class, click on the Apex class, click on this new button, click on this new button. Okay, click on this new button. So public class name is nothing but any name, open curly braces, close curly braces. Finally try to save this one. So we wrote one class. So what inside logic, forget about that. How to create a class is nothing but the first mechanism is go to setup, go to setup and go to develop, and here Apex classes are there, right? Click on the Apex class, click on the Apex class. It will show all the Apex classes. How many Apex classes are there in our instance? It will show all the Apex classes. So suppose you want to create a new one, means go to here, click on this new button and you will just go and create. That is one mechanism. One mechanism is go to setup and Apex class, Apex class, and click on this new button. This is one mechanism. The second mechanism is always go to developer console, go to developer console, go to here, file. See, still it is loading. 1 second. Yeah, still it is loading. Go to file, open, sorry, not open, new. We are trying to creating a new Apex class, right? Click on this new button, a new Apex class. Whatever your Apex class is nothing but enter here, click on OK, click on OK. So automatically it will add public class demo. Why we are using public? Okay, at the top of the class we should use either public or global. Suppose I will not use anything, then the system it will display error message. So the second mechanism is go to the developer console. We have to remember, go to developer console, go to developer console and click on the file. See here, click on the file. Second, yeah, click on the file, click on this new button, Apex class, file, file, Apex class, new button. We should know all these things, because of suppose you are working in the project, some people maximum presently they are using developer console, they are using, mostly they are using developer console, but we should learn all the mechanisms. The third one is nothing but Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code means they will call it as a VS Code, that we have to install into our local machine. We will do that, that we will install into our local machine. Okay, that we will install into our local machine. We are checking how many ways to create an Apex class. Once Apex class is created, inside the logic, wherever we are using developer console or anything, logic is same. How to create an Apex class, that's what here we are learning. Setup, Apex class, and another one is developer console, another one is Visual Studio Code. Here we are working with the Visual Force page, right? We are working with the Visual Force page, right? 1 second, I will close all these things. Okay, now coming, yeah, now we are working with the Visual Force page, right? We are working with the Visual Force page. From the Visual Force page also we will create, from the Visual Force page also we will create. The fourth option is, whenever we are creating a Visual Force page, whenever we are working with the Visual Force page, by using Visual Force page also we will create an Apex class. By using Visual Force page also we will create an Apex class. How to create means, go to here, Apex page is there, right? Apex page is there, right? We have one attribute. That attribute name is nothing but controller. That attribute name is nothing but controller. Controller means you have to write your Apex class name. You have to write your Apex class name. Okay, here I am writing my Apex class name like this. This is my Apex class name. So what I am trying to saying, we are going to write business logic inside Apex class. Okay, how to create an Apex class is nothing but as our comfort. Go to setup, Apex class new, or go to developer console. This is one mechanism. Go to Visual Studio Code. This is one mechanism. By using Visual Force page also, we are trying to creating a Visual Force page, right? So here what we have to do is go to controller. Controller is nothing but Apex class. So here this is my, here we are taking the data from the user, right? Once click on the save button, then where our request it will go to, our request it will go to our Apex class, right? Our request it will go to our Apex class. but technically we will call it as a controller. This one technically we will call it as a controller. So our request, first request, it is going to the Apex class. Technically we will call it as a controller. Go to here in the controller, you have to enter any name, any name. If that class is already existed, then it will automatically open. If that class is not there, then it will create. Now go to here, click on the save button, click on the save button. See here, the system, it is saying you are trying to creating an Apex class. Where is your Apex class name? This is my Apex class name. There is no Apex class with that particular name. There is no Apex class with that particular name. Shall we create like this public class name, or we will create like this public with sharing? Just remember, with sharing, without sharing, there is two keywords are there. With sharing, without sharing, we will discuss that. Okay, first we will go with this particular mechanism. I am telling to the system you have to create my Apex class in this way. In the second way, click on this one. See here, we created an Apex class, right? This is an Apex class only, right? See, public class name, right? Public class name. So this is my visual force space. So for this visual force space, we are writing one Apex class. This is my Apex class. how we are how we are linking this visual force space and Apex class? So in my system, lot of Apex classes are there, lot of Apex classes are there. How we are going to link? How we are going to tell visual force space? But for this visual force space, business logic is implemented in this particular Apex class. How we are going to tell? That is nothing but by using controller attribute. So the system, it will check, yes, for this visual force space we implemented business logic inside this Apex class, inside this Apex class. So whenever user click on the save button, so then our request automatically it will go to this particular Apex class. It will go to this particular Apex class. How visual force space know automatically it will go to this particular Apex class is nothing but we are telling by using controller attribute at the Apex page level. We are telling, boss, whenever you will click on the button, we implemented business logic in this Apex class. We have to execute the business logic from this Apex class only. How we are telling to the visual force page is nothing but by using controller attribute. Controller, we will call the terminology Apex class whenever we are working with the visual force page, we will always call it as a controller. Controller is nothing but Apex class. Apex class. Okay, Apex class we will call it as a controller. Why we will call it as a controller in the sense means whenever we will click on the save button, the request it will go to right, the request it will go to right. So where it will go to? This Apex class, right? This Apex class technically we will call it as a controller. This Apex class technically we will call it as a controller. Suppose I have another Apex class is there. From this Apex class I am trying to calling another Apex class, but this Apex class we will not call a controller. So whenever we will click on the save button, our request first which class it will go to, that class technically we will call it as a controller. So up to now what we learn, we created one Apex class. Okay, that Apex class, how we are linking to the visual force space? By using controller. Why we will call it as a controller? When click on the save button, see here, whenever we will click on the save button, wherever request it will go to, it will go to that particular class, right? So it will go to that particular class. From this class again it will go to some other class, it will go to some other class, assume that. So but we will call the first class as a controller. Whenever user click on the save button, first our request it will go to which class, that class we will call it as a controller. Any questions on this one? So we created one Apex class, we linked that Apex class under the visual force space by using controller attribute, by using controller attribute. Any questions up to now? Any questions? Okay, now the next point is, see, now the next point is we wrote one Apex class. Class is nothing but what? Class is nothing but what? It is a variables. Class is a combination of variables plus methods plus constructor, right? Constructor, right? So here you have to observe why we are using public, why we have to use public. This class from where we are trying to accessing? From this visual force space I am trying to accessing, right? From this visual force space we are trying to accessing. So I mean visual force page is trying to accessing my class. So how? Because of we are using public access modifier. Suppose I will not use any access modifier, then visual force page it will not find, because there is no class. I'm not able to find that class with that particular name. So that's why while declaring a class, we should use that class we should declare that class either public or global. Public means we can call that class from anywhere. I'm calling my class here from here. We are trying to calling, right? We are trying to calling. Yes, system it will identify. Why it will identify? We are using public. This class I can call from anywhere. Anywhere I can call it. Here I am calling from the visual force space. Now what is a class? Class is a combination of variables plus methods plus constructor, right? Plus constructor, right? Now coming into here. What is my next step? What is my next step? So here we are writing one, see here. Here we are writing one second. This is my user interface. Okay, this is my user interface. Okay, here first name and text box, last name text box, mother name like text box, father name text box, here command button, save button, cancel button, under command button. Now here we are writing one apex class. This is my apex class. We are linked this VF page and this apex class we linked. How means by using controller attribute we linked. What is our target? My target is here in the backend in Salesforce. One object is there. That object name is nothing but student. Their name is there, first name is there, last name is there. So whatever user entered, right, this data I have to collect. This data I have to collect into this visual force space. This data we have to collect. Based on that data I have to insert one record. That is my next target. That is my next target. So how to pass the data? How to pass the data? See, how to pass the data? First name is there, right? How to pass the data? Suppose you I will enter, go to here, I will just go and enter here, I will just go and enter here, I will just go and enter here and click on the save button. Once click on the save button, I want to pass for first name Akira, for last name Nandan, for other name Akira. So I want to I want to take that data from visual force space and we have to pass into the apex class. That is my next target. That is my next target. So where we will store this data in apex class? Generally where we will store this data? Into variables only, right? What is the purpose of variables? For storing the data, right? For storing the data, right? So here what I will do here, for first name is one text box, right? For text box, suppose user will enter the data here. That data I want to capture. We want to capture. Where we want to capture? I want to capture one variable. My variable name is anything. I'm trying to declaring one variable. See here, my variable name is nothing but f name. So what kind of data here it is storing? Akira is a text data, right? So what kind of data type? String. So this what kind of data type? String. So this is nothing but string. Here I'm trying to using public. Why we have to use public access modifier means I will explain. Okay, so my target is whatever the user entered the data in the first name text box, I want to take. We want to take into my apex class. So generally where we will store that data? Where we will store in that data into apex class? Into variables, right? So for each and every text box, you will just go on to declare one variable. You will just go on to declare one variable. First name, this is one text box, right? This is one text box. So that's why we declared one variable. One variable, that variable name is nothing but f name. Just observe one more thing here. First name is that way we have to use f name. It is mandate. It is not like that. For example, I will just go and put like Ramesh also. I am trying to declaring one variable. So that variable name is anything, right? That variable name is anything, right? Here my variable name I am just putting like f name. In this variable, what kind of data you are trying to storing? What kind of data you are trying to storing? User will enter any data, right? That we will call it as a string, right? String. Okay, then the next one is we are using public access modifier. Suppose we will not use any access modifier, then what does that mean? That means private, right? Private means what? Within the same class only it is available, right? What is the visibility? Private means within the same class, right? Suppose I will not use any access modifier for this particular variable, then what does that mean? So this variable is available only within this particular apex class, but we have to go and use public. We have to go and use public. So we declared here one variable, that is nothing but f name, one variable we declared. F name, one variable we declared. So how we are going to send this whatever user entered data, right? One second. whatever user entered data, right, that data how we have to send directly into this fname variable. That is my next question. Here we declared fname, that's why automatically this data here it will come and it will store here. It is not like that. So for this particular text box, user will enter some data. That data we want to store into one variable. Why we have to store into this variable? That based on that data I want to insert a record, right? Based on that data, first name, last name, mother name, first I have to take that data here. Based on that data we have to insert. So how this data we are going to pass into fname variable, means how we are going to send, how we are going to send the data from visual force page, from visual force page into apex class. That is my next step. How to pass the data from visual force page into apex class. That is my next step. So here you will just go and use the setter method. Setter method. And here you have to observe I am trying to using getter also. We are trying to using getter. What is the getter? I will explain. Okay, what is the getter? I will explain. First of all, suppose we want to get the data from visual force page. User will enter the data. That data I want to store into this fname variable. So at the fname name, what we have to do? Fname, one variable we declared, string and one more point. Whatever user entered data, right, that data we have to capture into this fname variable. In the sense means we should declare we should declare that as a setter. We should declare as a setter. We should declare as a setter. Suppose we want to pass the data from visual force page into apex class. In apex class into one variable we want to pass. That variable we should declare as a getter. Sorry, setter. We should declare as a setter to pass the data from apex. Sorry, to pass the data from visual force page into apex class setter. To pass the data, suppose sometime we want to pass the data, we will perform some operation. Now we want to pass the data into my visual force space. That time we have to go and use getter method. So getter method we will declare, then we will see. Okay, again I will explain. So now we are clear, right? Fname we declared, one variable we declare, right? Why we are trying to declaring? User he will enter some data in this particular text box. I want to capture into my apex class. In the apex class is a combination of variables plus methods plus constructor. So variables, you will just go and declare one variable. What is your variable name? Means anything. In this variable, what kind of data you are trying to storing? String data. What is the access modified? Suppose we will not specify anything in the sense means, then that is called private. But here I am using public. Why we are using public, I will explain. The second one is user will enter the data, right? User will enter data. So that data I want to capture into this particular variable. So how to capture is nothing but means from visual force page we want to get the data into apex class variables. So that apex class variable syntax you should use setter. You should use setters. But what about the getter? Why we are using getter? Getter, suppose we want to pass the data from apex class into visual force space. That's why always they will use like setters, getters. One variable we have to go and use setter. Setter means what is the purpose of setter here? Setter is nothing but fetch the data, fetch the data from vf page and store into this variable, store into this variable. Okay, what is the getter? What is the getter here? What is the getter? Okay, getter to pass the data, to pass the data from apex class to visual force space. Visual force space, in our example, which operation we are doing? We have to pass the data from here to here only, right? So they only we are using setters. But while declaring a variable, the best practice is you have to go and use setters and getters. Okay, now coming in here, so we declared one variable here and we are making that variable as a setters and getter, and then automatically this data here it will come and it will store into this variable. No, in apex class level we declared one variable. My variable name is nothing but f name, and in this variable we are telling to the system I will store string data, and I am making this variable, I mean like setters and getters. Okay, and the visibility is nothing but public. Then automatically this data it will go and put into this variable. No, then what we have to do is go to that apex input to text tags here, line number 8, apex input to text tag, right? apex input to text tag, right? See here, go to here, value is one attribute is there, value is one attribute is there. We are telling to the system whatever user entered data, whatever user entered data, that data you have to pass to this particular variable, to this particular variable. Now this is, it will clear all our question. See here why we are using value attribute, why we are using value attribute. See, 1 second, this is my visual code space, right? This is my visual code space. Instead of that, 1 second, this is my visual code space, right? Yeah, this is my visual code space. Now what we are doing, we are writing one apex class, right? We are writing here one apex class, we are writing here one apex class. So when user click on the save button, what we are doing, what is our requirement? This is my apex class. So from this apex class we have to create one record. Where we have to create a record? In the student object we have to create a record, that is our target. So whatever user enter the data, right, this data we want to store into one variable. So that's why we declared one variable here. My variable name is nothing but, here my variable name is nothing but f name. Okay, my variable name is nothing but f name, and here it will store string data type, here it will store or string. So here you have to observe we are using public access modifier. Why we are using public access modifier? This variable I am using outside of this class. Outside of this class in the sense means in the visual code space we are using, right? See, we are telling to the tag, this tag I am telling boss we have one variable, my variable name is nothing but f name. Whatever user enter the data, right, whatever the user enter the data, right, that data you have to store into this particular variable, that data you have to store into this particular variable. But before using this variable here, what we have to do, what we have to do, go to that particular apex class, you have to make this variable as a public, and you have to make this variable as a setter. For example, I will remove this public. Let's see here, finally try to save this one. See, the property is referenced by visual force space. Okay, I mean it will show whenever we are removing the public. Suppose we are using this variable, for example, coming into here, coming into, I am trying to declaring one more variable. Okay, we are trying to declaring one more variable. See here, this is a public, I am just adding here, and I am trying to declaring one more variable. My variable name is nothing but last name, string last name, last name, setters, getters, anyone, anyway. So we declared one variable, right? In this variable we are trying to storing string, right? So why we are using setters and getter? Setter means suppose we want to fetch the data from visual code space. Try to save this one. See, coming into here, this is a variable, right? Now this variable, what, where we will use, go to my visual code space here, go to my visual code space, last name, we have one text box is there, right? Value is there, right? See here, value is equal to, I am using inside the visual code space, I am using this variable. See, go to here, value is one attribute, double quotes, open curly braces, close curly braces, this exclamatory symbol, last name, last name. Okay, last name. So we are telling to the text box, boss, here one last name is one variable is there. Where is this variable? This variable is inside this controller. So whatever user entered this data, right, in this particular text box, that data you have to store into this particular variable. That's what we are telling to the text box. See, finally try to save this one. See, unknown property, here it is coming, right? Unknown property, but last name is there. Why it is not, it is not finding, why it is not finding? By, but here why it is finding? F name here it is finding, last name here it is not finding. Last name we are using outside of this particular apex class, outside of this particular apex class we are using, but the visibility is private only. I am not declaring anything, that's why the visibility is nothing but private. So that's why you have to go and use here public. Now we are clear, right? We declare one variable, that variable name is anything. Here my variable name is nothing but last name. What kind of data we are trying to storing? String data. Last name means anything, right? For example, I will just go use like this, any data, right? That's why string. So this variable, why we have to use public access modifier means, here go to here, we have to tell to the text box, right? We have to tell to the text box, value is equals to, see here, double quotes, open curly braces, close curly braces, exclamatory, and here the variable name. We are telling to the text box whatever you are entered in the last name, that I will store into this particular variable. So this variable we have to write inside Apex class. How to write? We have to use public any data type, and we have to use setter. Setter means whatever the data here user entered, right, that data we are storing, right, we are taking from Visual Force space and storing into this particular variable, right. That's why here we are using setter method. Any questions or any confusion? Why we have to declare this variable, and why public, why setters, getters, how to link? Everything is clear, right? Everything is clear. Please let me know if you have any questions or any confusion. Okay. So first, so my requirement is here, mother name is there. Now whatever the user, he will just enter here mother name, right. We want to store into one variable. We want to store into one variable in my Apex class. How to store? First of all, go and declare one variable, any variable, any name. Here I'm just putting like m name. So here m name we are trying to declaring. What kind of data you are trying to storing? String data, right? String data we are trying to storing, right? So this variable visibility is what? Visibility within the same class we have to use it, or in different, in Visual Force space also we have to use it. I'm using public. Why we have to use public? Means whatever user entered data here, right, in the mother name, I want to get means this variable we will use outside of this Apex class. In the Visual Force space we will use it. So how to get? So suppose you want to get the data from Visual Force space into Apex class, this variable should be public or global. Here we are using public, and this is a setter. Getter, setter. Setter means what? See, fetch the data from VA page. Here it is fetching the data, right? Whatever user entered data, right, that data we are storing into this particular variable, right? Where is this variable? This variable is inside this Apex class, right? So we are fetching the data from this text box and storing into this particular variable, right? That's why setter. So we have to use setter first or getter first as our wish. No issues. So now we are clear, right? Mother name is one variable name. In this variable we will try to store string data. This variable we can use my Visual Force space. That's why public access modifiers. And why we are using setters and getters means setter property, we will call it as a setter property, and getter property. Setter property is nothing but to fetch the data from Visual Force page into Apex class. So how we have to tell to the text box, right? Otherwise text box directly you declared with variable name m name, here mother name is there, that's why directly I will map. No, it's not like that. We have to tell to the text box, boss, whatever you are enter here inside mother name, then store into this particular variable. So then where is mother name text box? Here. Where is mother name text box? Here mother name text box is there. Now we have to tell to this text box, boss, anyone will enter any data here, then you have to store into one variable. So which variable it is asking? My variable name is like this. My variable name is like this. So my variable name is like m name. My variable name is m name. So whenever we are using this, it will ask, bus, you are declaring variable here, right? This variable should be a public and it should be a setter property. Setter property. Now we are clear, right? So that's why whatever the user entered data, right, in this particular text box, we are mapping into this variable. Where is this variable? This variable is inside this Apex class. This is a variable and data type and access modifier and setter property. Any questions or any confusion on this one? Like that, you will just go and declare. You will just go and declare for each and every text box. You will just go and declare one variable here. Please let me know if you have any questions. Okay. And here father full f name, father, any name. Here we are using father name, that's why here we are using father name. We have to use father name. It is not like that. Father name. Now street is there, right? Public. So now we created this variable. Now we have to map it, right? First you have to go to here, you have to save this one. Okay. Now go to this Visual Force space, which text box, father full name, right? Here father name. Now go to here, we have to tell to this text box values equals to, values equals to, and now go to here. See, we have to tell to this text box was user, he will enter data, right? That data you have to store into this variable. Where is this variable? This variable is inside this Apex controller. Controller means Apex class. Why we will call it as a controller? When user click on the save button, it will go to the Apex class, right? The first request where it will go to, that we will technically call it as a controller. Okay, technically we will call it as a controller. Then this is a father name, this is father name. Now go to here, I have one more variable like each and father name.
రమేష్ గారు ఇన్పుట్స్ రెండు ఉన్నాయి చూడండి.
Okay, okay, into
ఫాదర్ నేమ్
text.
ఫాదర్ ఫుల్ నేమ్.
Okay, just removing father name is there. I'm removing this one. Okay, now try to save this one. Father
Sir,
name, yes.
sir, could change the can have little more different types as well, like instead of just the text box can be date controller as well as some just
We will
values for country.
some one complete form we will develop, like dates, checkboxes, pick list. First we will understand basic things. Okay,
Okay, sure.
yeah, in the next example we will go with the complete form. Okay, so here we will how we are going to capture the data that we are trying to understand. Now coming into here, I will just go and put one more variable here, one more variable street, right? So for each and every variable you will just go and declare. So same, I'm just copy paste. Okay, how many variables are there? We'll just go and copy paste. Father name, street, street one, and the next one is nothing but street one, state, country. Okay, state, country. Okay, state, country. And the next one is which one? Mobile phone. Okay, mobile phone. Okay, and I am taking some other two, phone and mobile. Okay, these variables we declared at the class level. Okay, just observe sectors are, this is for our information. We have to use set property and we have to use get property. Set is nothing but to fetch the data from Visual Force page and store into this variable. Get means to pass the data, we have to remember. So all variables we declared, right? Now we have to map, right? We have to map. So how to map? Go to this particular checkbox, text box, go to here. So father name we mapped. Now go to here, the street, I'm telling to this particular text box, boss, whatever you enter data right here, you have to map into this particular variable. This is a Visual Force page, right? That's why instead of single quote we are using double quote, but in Apex class we have to use single quote only. Okay, so you have to use single quote. Now coming in there, what is the next variable? String one, right? Go to here, go to here, street is there, right? Value is there, right? Value is equals to, here street one, here street one. Now go to here, state is there, right? State is there, go to here, value, we have to do mapping here. Okay, we have to do mapping. No one. Okay, state, and the next one is country. Then the next one is here country, value attribute. Okay, value attribute, country, and the next one is mobile, right? Is the, copy this one, and here also copy this one, phone number here, but this one mobile number, right? Mobile number, yes, we entered all these details. Then click on the save button. So first you have to go and define at the Apex class level and you have to save it. Then you have to come into Visual Force page, you have to map it. Okay, now we map, right? Whatever user entered data, and we are mapping into the corresponding fields, right? We map it into corresponding fields, right? And here one more point we have to remember, suppose user will enter data, then automatically it will not go and it will not go into that, but it will not store into this particular variable. What I'm trying to say is user will enter the data, I declared one Apex class, inside Apex class I declared one variable, then automatically it will go and it will store. It is not like that, it is not like that. So suppose user will enter mother name, So, and for this visual force page, we wrote one apex class. Inside apex class, we declared one variable. Then automatically it will go and it will store into this variable. It is not like that. So we just perform some mapping. Now user he will enter data. After that, he will perform some action. See, then he will come into here and click on the save button. Then only this data it will pass into the corresponding variables. Here you have to remember one more thing, one more observation. I will enter data here. Yes, then it is my in my apex class is there. In my apex class street is one variable. Now it is in that particular variable. No, it is not like that. We have to perform some action here. Some action when we will perform. When here my requirement is when you will click on the save button, right? So once click on the save button, then the system it will check. Yes, class is there. In that class corresponding variables are there. We have to map that data. That you have to observe. So what I'm trying to say is whatever you enter immediately it will not map. We have to perform some action. So here we will just go to here, click on the save button, click on the cancel button. So here my requirement is once click on the save button, then based on this data we have to insert a record. So now my next step is class is a combination of variables and methods, right? Public, see here, this is my class. Okay, 1 second. This is my class, right? Class is a combination of variables plus methods plus constructor, right? What I will do, I will just go and write a constructor here. Public constructor, see here, same name as a class name and same access modifier here we are using. Then the next one is here, I will just go and write one method. Public, I am not using any return type, that's why I'm using void method. We are using void method here. My method name is nothing but create student record. This is my method name, no doubts, right? Class is a combination of variables, methods, constructor. We declared variables, right? We also declared constructor. What is the purpose of the constructor here? Means there is no use. We'll discuss each and everything. We'll discuss. Now we declared one method, right? What is my method name? My method name anything. Ramesh also will put. This is my method name. The method return type is nothing but void, means it will not return. Public, why we are using here? We are public means outside of this class I will use this particular method. First we will try to save this one. Here any questions? We are writing one constructor same name as a class name. We are writing one method. The method return type is not is void. Why we are using void? I will explain each and everything. I will explain. My method is public access modifier. Then coming into the save button. When we will click on the save button, then only we have to perform our logic, right? User will enter details, then click on the save button, then I want to perform my business logic. Generally where we will write inside method. So here finally whenever user click on the save button, we have to call our method. Inside method I will perform my business logic. So this is my method. So how to call this method from the command button is nothing but values equals to save. Here action we will use, action attribute. Here action attribute, I am telling to the command button, boss, anyone will click on this command button, then call this particular method. Where is this method? It will search inside this controller. Yes, inside this controller this method is there. For example, go to here, this method is there, right? This method I am using outside of this apex class, right? I'm using this visual force page, right? That's why we are using public, right? Public is clear, right? So why we are using void, I will explain in the next session. Coming into here, I am telling to the command button, boss, any person will click on the save button, we have to perform business logic. Where will write inside method. Yes, we have to call this particular method. Where is this method is this one. In this method we are going to write a apex, I mean our business logic. That business logic we'll discuss in the next session. So here I will just go and create one more method. Public void cancel method, cancel record. This is my method name. So what now? And I will just go here, I will try to save this one. Then what is my next step? Take this method I'm telling to the command button, called which command button? Cancel command button. If any person will click on you, then you have to call this controller method. Controller method, how we are telling, we are using action attribute, then the system it will understand, yes, I have to call one method. That method is nothing but cancel records. Sometimes I will not use exclamatory, then it will throw so it will not identify. You have to remember the syntax. Okay, then it will identify. So finally what I'm trying to say is, business logic we will write inside method. Yes, I'll just go and write the method here. That method, how we have to link to this visual for space. Whenever user click on the save button, command button, I'm telling to the command button, boss, you have one method is there, you have to call that method and you have to perform business logic by using action attribute. I'm telling to the cancel button, boss, we have one method is there, cancel record. That method you have to call and you have to perform business logic. So now we are clear, right? In the next session we will get some more information. Okay, clear picture we will get. Okay, this is for today's session.